Check. Is it okay? So, good morning. Today our topic is pilgrimage to the heart of reality. I'll start with a chant. Om Tarekam Smaramas-tarekam Bhajamaha Tarekam Jagat Sakshirupam Namaha Sarekam Nidhanam Niralam Mamisham Bhavamodhipotam Sharanyam Vrajama. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. On that alone do we meditate, that alone do we worship, to that alone, the witness of the universe, do we bow, to that one who is our sole eternal support, the self-existent Lord, the raft to safety across the ocean of this world, do we come for refuge. Om, peace, peace, peace. So when Narendranath, Swami Vivekananda, first came to meet Sri Ramakrishna that first day, he sang 2 songs. And the first song is a deeply meaningful song. I was hoping we were going to hear it this morning, but that was not to be. But it's a Bengali song, of course. Mon cholo nijo niketoni. Oh my, it's a song addressed to one's own mind. Oh my mind, let us go back to our own abode. Let us go back to our own home. There's some wonderful ideas in this song about our topic, actually. Let me read you the first stanza, at least here, of this in translation. Let us go back once more, O mind, to our own abode. Here in this foreign land of earth, why should we wander aimlessly, in strangers' guise? These living beings round about and the 5 elements are strangers to you, all of them. None of them is your own. Why do you thus forget yourself in love with strangers, O my mind? Why do you thus forget your own? So this idea that a time comes in life when we start to feel that, well, what am I doing here? What is the meaning of life? What am I called to do in life? And when the glamour is off life, as it were, when the ordinary material life, the regular things of job and family, and they're all fine, but they're just not enough, something deeply missing. And this is a reminder to us that, yes, actually, this is a foreign land we are in here, and we're wearing the dress of a foreigner. Our true home is somewhere else. Our true home is in the spirit, which actually is not somewhere else. It's right here. Only we are not, our hearts are not open to it yet, so we don't experience it. And then the song continues. It's a beautiful song written by one Brahmo preacher named Ayodhyanath Pakrashi, who died in 1873. Second verse, ascend the path of truth, O mind. Unflaggingly climb with love as the lamp to light your way. As your provision for the journey, bring with you the virtues carefully concealed. For like 2 highwaymen, greed and delusion wait to rob you of your wealth. And keep beside you constantly as guards to shelter you from harm, calmness of mind and self-control. So this is a beautiful idea of life as a journey. Ascend the path of truth. Climb this mountain of truth and reach the truth of who you are, reach the truth of the divine. With unflaggingly, tirelessly, climb and climb. And what is the lamp to light your way? That is love. And then bring carefully concealed the virtues, all your good qualities, all your good deeds. Hide them, because there are also some robbers ready to rob you. What are those robbers? Greed, delusion, anger, lust, all these passions. They're waiting to rob you of your wealth. And your guards will be shama and dhamma, calmness of mind, self-control, mastery of our organs. Last verse. Companionship with sadhus will be for you a welcome rest house by the road. There rest your weary limbs a while, asking your way if ever you should be in doubt of him who watches there. If anything along the path should frighten you, then loudly shout the name of the Lord, for he is ruler of that road, and even death must bow to him. So here, this idea that, yes, if you need rest, you need some encouragement, find other seekers who are also climbing that path. And taking refuge with them is like a real refuge, a rest house on this path. And fear, call on God, call on God, call on God. So it's an allegory, really. This song is a beautiful allegory for the spiritual life. And Narendra, singing this song, Sri Ramakrishna went into ecstasy and, of course, recognized Narendra also as his disciple, the future Vivekananda. So the topic today is this pilgrimage, this idea of pilgrimage. Yes, a pilgrimage to holy places. We gain inspiration. There are certain practices and prerequisites for pilgrimage to be successful. And at the same time, pilgrimage is also a kind of allegory for our life. Our life is, as it were, a pilgrimage to our true home in the divine, whether we know it or not. So how today, what can we learn from this idea of pilgrimage, and how can we turn our whole life into a pilgrimage? So what is a pilgrimage? It seems to me that, first of all, a pilgrimage is a journey, but it's not any journey. It's a journey which is, first of all, consciously undertaken with a goal, a purpose. And not any goal, not any purpose, a sacred goal, a sacred purpose, a holy goal, to, in a word, to get darshan, to see God, to have darshan of a deity, a temple, a holy sacred place, a holy person perhaps. Some people talk about secular pilgrimage, that they make a pilgrimage to Graceland because they're devotees of Elvis Presley. Or they make a pilgrimage to Stratford-on-Avon because they're devotees of Shakespeare. Actually, a devotee who was in the music business told me that he made a kind of pilgrimage, as he called it, the Abbey Road Studios, where the Beatles had recorded their music. And he said it was a holy place. He felt it was really holy. So for him, Abbey Road Studios were holy. Typically, when we think of a pilgrimage, we think of a journey consciously undertaken with the goal of receiving the blessings of the divine at a particular kind of holy place. And it's still a living tradition in all our the world's religious traditions. Christianity has a lot of pilgrimage places, both in Europe, where more than 5 million pilgrims a year visit the shrine in Lourdes, in France, where the Mother Mary appeared to people, and many people have experienced healing there. And in Mexico, closer to us here in Mexico, in the Virgin of Guadalupe, Mother Mary appeared to a humble Mexican peasant, and that is now perhaps the largest pilgrimage place for Christians in the world. 20 million devotees a year visit that shrine. And of course Bethlehem and Jerusalem and all that. For Muslims, Mecca is the destination. Perhaps 2 million pilgrims in a year visit Mecca for the Hajj. And Buddhism has the 4 holy places associated with Buddha's birth and his illumination and his preaching his first sermon and then his leaving the body in Mahaparinirvana. And Judaism, of course, has Jerusalem, but Hinduism, India has probably the most pilgrimage places of all. India is the great holy land, a land of sacred geography, we can call it, with tirthas, or holy places, found in every corner of the country, from the north to the south and the east to the west, from ancient holy places and new holy places, from Kedarnath in the north to Rameshwaram in the south, and Dwarka in the west to Puri in the east, and Amarnath to Varanasi, Vrindavan to Dakshineshwar, and Kamarpukur. All these places are powerful places of pilgrimage. And this idea of tirtha actually, the word originally means a place of water, but now it calls us, it's any place where the divine grace is flowing like water, and we can easily catch that divine grace. And they're associated with various aspects of the divine, like, for instance, the Shakti Pithas, where in the mythology, the different parts of the body of the Divine Mother fell and created these powerful places of Shakti, power. Or the Jyotirlingas, the natural emblems of Shiva, which are said to have sprung up naturally from the earth. There's 12 of them in India. And the sacred rivers, places where avatars manifested their leelas, places where rishis and saints had their illumination and built their ashramas and all of that. So many tirthas are in places of incredible natural beauty, but they derive their holiness not from that. They derive their holiness from the association with great saints, and through the spiritual practices undergone there, the illumination attained there, the spiritual vibrations which we experience in these places. And Sri Ramakrishna had some thoughts on pilgrimage. He told his disciples that he explained that there is a manifestation of the divine where people practice for a long time spiritual disciplines, intense spiritual disciplines, like japa, meditation, prayer, and worship for the purpose of God vision. And he says their thoughts of God have become solidified there, so to speak, on account of their devotion. That is why holy thoughts and visions are so easily attained there. And it's true, when we visit a holy place, we naturally feel our minds getting more easily drawn into meditation, into holy thought, into positive thoughts. And he points out that uncounted sadhus, devotees, and perfected souls came from age to age to these holy places. Why? In order to realize God. And they called on him with all their heart. So there is a special manifestation of God in these places. He acknowledges, yes, God exists everywhere. Everything, in fact, is a manifestation of the divine. And yet, one can easily get water in wells and pools and lakes, though it can be had anywhere if you dig for it. But there are already certain wells which are dug where there you can easily get water. Similarly, God is omnipresent, but we can more easily get that water of divine grace in certain holy places. Now, Swami Vivekananda has an interesting take on it. He also agrees. His disciple was questioning him, what about these pilgrimage places, and what is there to that? And he agreed that yes, if we consider the whole world as the form universal of the eternal Atman, of Ishvara, of God, then why shouldn't there be special influence of the divine in particular places? And he agrees, there are places where God manifests himself specially, either spontaneously or through the earnest longing of pure souls. And the ordinary person, like you and me, who visits those places with eagerness, attains the end very easily. So this eagerness is an essential ingredient, obviously, in any pilgrimage undertaken. And then Swamiji makes a very beautiful statement. He says, know for certain that there is no greater tirtha, no greater place of pilgrimage, no greater holy place than the human body. Nowhere else is the Atman so manifest as here. So, no greater place than the Manavadeha, the human body. So why do we undertake pilgrimage? Actually, we're talking about pilgrimage from a spiritual standpoint, but people undertake pilgrimage for different reasons, actually. For punya, for merit, to maybe get more good things in life, to get a better next birth, or for prayaschitta, maybe we have done something bad, we have made a mistake, we have done a so-called sin, and we want to atone for that. We go on a pilgrimage. Or perhaps in fulfillment of a vow. Oh Lord, if such and such a thing happens, I will make this pilgrimage. Or seeking some kind of a boon. And of course there's the pilgrimage to Gaya, which Hindus long to do, to offer pindas to their ancestors. The satisfaction of their ancestors, it's considered a duty. Also, people go on pilgrimage for healing from illness, like as I mentioned, Lourdes in France, where, and I remember visiting a small church in New Mexico, the wall of which was covered with canes and braces, and there was even a wheelchair there, that people had come to that church, walking with a cane or with a brace on their leg or some kind of medical device, and they had experienced healing, and they left that device there, and it was hung on the wall to attest to the healing power of that particular place. But of course, we spiritual seekers, if we are to undertake a pilgrimage, it is for what purpose? To increase our devotion, to purify our minds. Yes, to gain a direct experience of the divine, to become illumined. It's also interesting to think that actually illumined souls also go on pilgrimage. And we may ask, why? Why should great souls go on pilgrimage? It's partly just to taste the divine in different ways, but also, and this is important, they go to add to the holiness of a holy place. The illumined souls go to, because what makes a place holy? The holy people who go there. As Swami said, the greatest tirtha is the human body. So those people who are holy, who go to a place, they add to its holiness. So we also, if we make any pilgrimage, or even say when we come to the Vedanta Center, we should partake of the holy vibrations here, but we should also add to them. We should also pray, we should also sit and do a little meditation, a little prayer, a little japa, and add to the holy vibrations. We shouldn't just take the holy vibrations. So if we are seriously considering undertaking a pilgrimage, there are some prerequisites. And Sri Ramakrishna did not encourage so much pilgrimage for new seekers, people who had just started on the spiritual path. He said, your love, your devotion is just a little sprout. You don't wither away if you go on pilgrimage now. And he would say, one who has it here, has it there. One who has it not here, has it not there. So actually, we start with we need some devotion, some shraddha, some faith, some firm conviction in the reality of the divine and in the special manifestation of the divine in that particular holy place. So Sri Ramakrishna points out, if one has devotion in a holy place of pilgrimage, that devotion is enkindled all the more. But if one has not that devotion, then there will be no positive result from visiting a place of pilgrimage. So we think of making a pilgrimage and all the preparations that have to be made. Well, I have to pack my bag, and I should have lightweight things and shouldn't bring too much, and I need tickets, and who's going to go with me, and where will I get food, and trying to plan all these things out. But actually, this is not the important preparation for pilgrimage. The important preparation is within. Thinking about the pilgrimage, kindling that flame of yearning in our heart, doing more meditation and japa and prayer, and preparing ourselves, yes, preparing ourselves to come face to face with the divine. So, if we compare it to this idea of the pilgrimage of life, we see it's the same actually. We fix a goal. What is the goal of our life's pilgrimage? Our life's pilgrimage's goal? To attain true peace, to regain our lost kingdom, to know that we are one with God, to have the direct experience of the divine. What other goal of life can bring lasting fulfillment and peace? So, and for that, what do we need? What preparations do we need for that? Well, those same things we've been talking about: faith, devotion, sincerity, and longing. That essential ingredient of longing. And then comes the journey, when we actually make that pilgrimage. Traditional pilgrimages were made on foot. And fortunately, some pilgrimages are still made on foot. Sri Ramakrishna's father, Khudiram, he walked from Kamarpukur in West Bengal all the way to Rameshwaram in South India and back. It took about a year. It must have been over 3,000 miles that he walked over the course of a year. Staying in pilgrim rest houses, dharamshalas, or with pious villagers. This is one of the glories of India, that India supports the poor pilgrim who will just go and find a pilgrim rest house and beg a little food from a few houses and go on this pilgrimage. So now with modern transportation, it becomes much easier. We can, from here in Houston, we can take an airplane all the way to Chennai, and from there we can catch a train to a nearby place of Rameshwaram, and then we can catch a bus or hire a taxi and drive right to the town of Rameshwaram. So something is gained by this. It's easier to make a pilgrimage, so more people can make that pilgrimage. Even infirm people who are ill or weak. And we can visit more places of pilgrimage. Because it's easy, we can visit 10, 20 places in 1 week. But something is lost also. This journey, the journey itself is a spiritual discipline. The journey itself becomes a sadhana. And facing the struggles on that journey is really a part of the pilgrimage. And because if one is walking, it may take days or weeks to reach the destination. All that time is devoted to thinking of that pilgrimage, thinking of the destination, and gradually our longing increases and increases. And our joy of thinking that we're going to see the Lord, we're going to see the Divine Mother, we're going to be blessed by this experience, that is a wonderful part of the pilgrimage. And there's also a camaraderie, a beautiful camaraderie that develops among pilgrims who are walking together. This joy of knowing that we are walking together and meeting other pilgrims. And there are still some pilgrimages, important pilgrimages, which are done on foot, like the pilgrimage to Amarnath in Kashmir, the pilgrimage to Gomukh, the source of the Mother Ganges, and the pilgrimage to Kedarnath, the great Shiva temple high in the Himalayas. And on these pilgrimages, with every step, we take the Lord's name. We take the name of the divine. And when we meet other pilgrims on this pilgrimage, we greet them with the name of the Lord, with the name of the particular deity whom we are visiting. So for the Kedarnath pilgrimage, you greet the other pilgrims with Jai Kedar Baba Ki Jai, or for the pilgrimage to Gomukh, Jai Gangama. So it's a beautiful experience. And then of course we have the dangers on the path. When walking on a narrow path in the Himalayas with a 1,000-foot drop below in the gorge, and boulder fields above, and big mountains, and it's really, can be overwhelming. And at that time, there's no support. There's no support except for our own mantra, the name of God. There's no support other than God. And that is part of what I mean by the sadhana of the journey, that we are forced to surrender and forced to depend on God alone. So there are some special dress that people also wear, and other practices they undertake on a pilgrimage. Sometimes people will wear all white, or they'll wear a gerawa. Even householder devotees, for that period of their pilgrimage, they'll live like monks and nuns, and they'll wear gerawa and dedicate themselves completely to all vegetarian food, maybe extra fasting, lots of extra japa, it's wonderful also to see the Hajj, actually, the Muslims who go on the Hajj. Whether it's a king or a pauper, they all put on the same dress. Simple white dress made of coarse cloth. For men, it's just 2 pieces of cloth, as we do, as the sadhus also do, one around the lower half of the body, one around the upper half of the body. And for women, it covers more of the body, but it's also the same simple white dress. So it brings a tremendous unity among humanity. We're all dressed in the same way. We're all children of the divine. We're all seeking that same divine reality. And this is really a wonderful attitude to take in life as well. And we're all human beings. We're all walking on the same path to the divine. And why should I place myself above anybody else? Why then, at the same time, should I place myself below anybody else? Because we're all brothers and sisters, children of the one infinite divine. And this idea that as we travel on the pilgrimage, as we approach that goal of the pilgrimage, we're coming closer to the darshan experience, that longing intensifies. In our life also, we can feel that every day actually brings us closer to our goal. Every day of life brings us one step closer to death, yes, but also one step closer to experiencing the divine directly. Sri Ramakrishna assures us that all will realize God. All will experience the divine directly. We will all know our true nature as divine. Only some people at the Annapurna temple in Kashi, some people get fed in the morning, some people get fed in the afternoon, some people don't get their meal until late at night, but all are fed. So similarly, depending on our yearning, depending on how intensely we want to reach it, we are all going to reach the divine. Some, it may take a little longer, but all are assured. So we shall reach the goal. This kind of faith, we can develop this kind of faith in life. This way we start to turn our life itself into a pilgrimage. Now comes the thrilling experience of darshan, of seeing the divine. It may be a mountaintop temple like Kedarnath, or a sacred lake, or like Manas Sarovar in Kailas, or a river, or perhaps a village hamlet like Kamarpur, sanctified by the birth of a truly great soul. It may be a lonely, isolated place with scarcely any other pilgrims, like Gomukh, the source of Mother Ganga, or it may be a remote place yet with lots of pilgrims, like Vaishno Devi or Amarnath. It may be in a city, like Kashi Vishwanath in Varanasi or Jagannath in Puri. But the experience of darshan is really not, we can't quite describe it, and yet we feel that we have come into the presence of the divine. Darshan comes from the root word drish, to see. And it means, so darshan is seeing the divine. It's gaining blessings. It's coming into the presence of God. But not only that I am seeing God, I am seeing a manifestation of the divine, but also that God is seeing me. There's a reciprocity. I am seeing God, and God is also seeing me. And there's this also, we can say, perception and reception. On the one hand, I am seeing the divine, I am experiencing God, and I am receiving blessings, I am receiving grace. And this term darshan is used in many, yes, we have darshan of a deity in a temple. We also can have darshan of a saint, or darshan of a holy river or a mountain. And most importantly, darshan within. We can also have darshan within. I'd like to read a somewhat lengthy passage from Sister Nivedita, which describes Swami Vivekananda's experience at the mountain cave of Amarnath in the Himalayas, in Kashmir. In 1898, he was traveling with his Western disciples in Kashmir, and at some point he decided he's going to make the pilgrimage to Amarnath, and he wanted to take his disciple, Sister Nivedita, with him to dedicate her to Lord Shiva. So they were in Srinagar, and they moved to Pahalgam, and from there they left on July 30, and from there it's a pilgrimage on foot. And she describes in beautiful language. I hope you can appreciate the beauty and the thrilling event that she describes here. Her language is, some people love Sister Nivedita's language, and other people hate it. They say, oh, it's too ornate and all that. I'm one of those who loves it, so I'll try to read it with that kind of love. Through scenes of indescribable beauty, 3,000 of us ascended the valleys that opened before us as we went. The first day we camped in a pine wood. The next we had passed the snow line and pitched our tents beside a frozen river. That night the great campfire was made of juniper, and the next evening, at still greater heights, the servants had to wander many miles in search of this scanty fuel. At last, the regular pathway came to an end, and we had to scramble up and down, along goat paths on the face of steep declivities, till we reached the boulder-strewn gorge in which the cave of Amarnath is situated. As we ascended this, we had before us the snow peaks covered with a white veil, newly fallen, and in the cave itself, in a niche never reached by sunlight, shone the great ice lingam that must have seemed to the awestruck peasants who first came upon it like the waiting presence of God. The Swami means, this is from the master as I saw him, her biography of Swami Vivekananda. And so she's describing this journey to the cave in which for those of you who don't know, I think most of us probably know, Amarnath is the mountain is a cave, a temple dedicated to Shiva, but it's in a cave, a huge cave high in the Himalayas, and the lingam, the image of Shiva, is naturally formed of ice. There's some water dripping somehow, and it falls, and it forms every year, you can say, an ice stalagmite. And so it's apparently, I haven't been, so I don't know, but and later in the season it actually melts away. But in the spring and early summer, it's this giant ice, lingam made of ice. And the atmosphere is tremendously powerful. So she describes how the Swami had observed every rite of the pilgrimage as he came along. He had told his beads, kept fasts, and bathed in the ice-cold waters of 5 streams in succession, crossing the river Gravels on our 2nd day. And now, as he entered the cave, it seemed to him as if he saw Shiva made visible before him. Amidst the buzzing, swarming noise of the pilgrim crowd and the overhead fluttering of the pigeons, he knelt and prostrated 2 or 3 times, unnoticed. Then, afraid lest emotion might overcome him, he rose and silently withdrew. He said afterwards that in these brief moments, he had received from Shiva the gift of Amar, not to die until he himself had willed it. In this way, possibly, was defeated or fulfilled that presentiment which had haunted him from childhood, that he would meet with death in a Shiva temple amongst the mountains. The Swami was full of the place. He felt that he had never been to anything so beautiful. He sat long silent. Then he said dreamily, "I can well imagine how this cave was first discovered. A party of shepherds one summer day must have lost their flocks and wandered in here in search of them. Then, when they came home to the valleys, they told how they had suddenly come upon Mahadev. Of my master," means Nivedita writing now, "of my master himself in any case, a like story was true. The purity and whiteness of the ice pillar had startled and enwrapped him. The cavern had revealed itself to him as the secret of Kailas. And for the rest of his life, he cherished the memory of how he had entered a mountain cave and come face to face there with the Lord himself." This is the experience of darshan. And this is something for all of us. True, someone like Swami Vivekananda, his experience may be different from our experience, but anyone who undertakes this pilgrimage with sincerity and devotion will experience something for sure, no doubt about it. Though it's interesting that after the pilgrimage, Nivedita had been brought along to be dedicated to Lord Shiva. But somehow she got angry with Swamiji. She was like his daughter. And as daughters sometimes get angry with their fathers, so she became angry with Swamiji. She reveals this in a letter to one of her English friends. Otherwise we wouldn't know this. And so she didn't feel anything in the temple. It's kind of tragic, so that he reassured her. He reassured her, "You do not now understand, but you have made the pilgrimage, and it will go on working. Causes must bring their effects. You will understand better afterwards. The effects will come." So he assured her that yes, you also have got the blessings of Lord Shiva, but at the time, she wasn't aware of it. And so that's a great lesson for us. In our spiritual life, if we are striving to see God, and we are at the same time plagued by our passions, the anger, greed, all these things, it's going to obstruct our vision, as it were, where we won't get it. Those have to be attenuated, those have to be let go, those have to be laid at the feet of the divine, and then we have the darshan. It's interesting, one of the things that Swamiji loved also about Amarnath is there was no buying and selling, no, as he puts it, I thought the ice lingam was Shiva himself, and there were no thievish Brahmins, no trade, nothing wrong. It was all worship. I never enjoyed any religious place so much. And it's true, it seems like places of tremendous holiness also attract certain individuals who seem downright unholy. And it's almost as if to balance out the holiness. So in many powerful places of pilgrimage, you also have thieves and pickpockets. And you have the priests whose only goal is to extract as much money from the pilgrims as they possibly can. So you see that also in many places of pilgrimage. Swamiji found in Amarnath this was not the case. So, but it was an overwhelming vision he had, and he often referred to that he had received the grace of Amarnath, not to die until he himself had willed it. So that's why we feel that when he left the body on July 4, he himself had chosen to do so. So after a pilgrimage is over, what do we do? Sri Ramakrishna points out this is very important. We have to chew the cud. Just as cows eat their fill in the daytime in the pastures, and then they go into the barn at night. And what do they do all night? They chew the cud. They have to bring up that grass again and chew it more to properly digest it. So similarly, Sri Ramakrishna, as Swami Sarananda recalls, Sri Ramakrishna taught us to chew the cud after our visits to these places, endowed with a special manifestation of God. He said, just as cows eat their fill, become free from anxiety, and then, resting in one place, chew the cud. So, after one has visited temples and places of pilgrimage, one should sit in a secluded place, think on, and merge oneself in those pure thoughts of God that rose in the mind while one was in those places. One should not apply one's mind to sights, tastes, and other worldly objects immediately after visiting them. Those thoughts of God do not, in that case, produce permanent results in the mind. So as Sri Ramakrishna suggests, if we have a holy experience, whether it is on the pilgrimage or any other time we have some experience of holiness, we should treasure that experience. It's a true experience of the divine. Treasure it, keep it, remember it, think on it, meditate on it, bring our mind back to that experience again and again. It's a tremendous practice, very important. So as Swami Vivekananda said, the ultimate tirtha, the ultimate goal, the holy goal of pilgrimage is found nowhere else but here in our own heart. And the greatest pilgrimage is this spiritual life in which we strive to uncover the divine within. Sri Ramakrishna used to sing that song, Dive Deep, Dive Deep. Dupa 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 rup shagore amar mon. Dive deep, O mind, in the ocean of the divine beauty, in the ocean of the beauty of the divine. Dive deep. And then there's this line, Kuch, 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 nipabi hriday majhe vrindabon. Seek, seek, seek. Oh, if you seek intensely, you will find in your heart Vrindavan. Now, Vrindavan is one of the great pilgrimage places in India, the place of Sri Krishna's Leela with the gopis. And millions of pilgrims yearn to visit Vrindavan and do visit Vrindavan. Well, this song points out that actually, if we seek, if we deeply seek, we find Vrindavan right here. It's right here in our heart. We don't have to go to some other place. We can find it right here in our own hearts. And Sri Ramakrishna also liked that song, though he did go on pilgrimage. He did go make a few pilgrimages, but he liked and often used to sing this song. When someone was talking about going on a pilgrimage, he would sing that song. Gaya Ganga Prabhasari Kachi Kanchi Kevachai. That idea, why should I go to all these holy places, to Ganga or Gaya or Kashi, Kanchi or Prabhas, so long as I can breathe my last with Kali's name upon my lips? What need of rituals has a person? What need of devotions if he or she repeats the mother's name at the 3 holy hours. This is the singer's name, the composer's name was Madan Mashta. We don't know anything more about him, but Sri Ramakrishna loved this song very much. One of the many songs to the Divine Mother that he used to sing and that he used as teaching tools for his students. So, if we are to convert our whole life into a pilgrimage, it seems, what are some of the important facets of that? First is this idea of a goal. A pilgrimage is made with a goal. It's not simply an aimless journey, an aimless wandering. It's a goal. It's a journey with a goal. So this fixing a goal for our life and cultivating the determination to reach it. And then the preparations. We've talked quite a bit, we've touched on that in different ways of purifying our mind, letting go of the strong negative emotions as best we can, and transforming them. We have these teachings in the Yoga Sutras of the yamas and niyamas, how we practice not injuring others, speaking always the truth, don't covet other people's wealth, don't steal, these kind of practices. Practice chastity. These are the preparations for our pilgrimage. And this journey that every day brings us closer to our journey. And this intention, the pilgrimage is a journey consciously taken. We maintain that consciousness throughout the journey that I'm going to Amarnath, or I am going to Kamarpukur. And that, so in our life, can we maintain also that consciousness that I am going to experience my own true divinity, that infinite bliss that is my own true nature, or I am going to come face to face with my Divine Mother, who is the Anandamayi, the all blissful Mother, and I will see her, and I'm looking forward to that more and more, and every day brings me closer to seeing her. So this is the great pilgrimage of life, the pilgrimage every soul has to make to seek and find the divine, to this journey from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, and from death to immortality. So I'd like to close by reading another passage from Sister Nivedita. It's, to me, an extremely inspiring passage in which she describes the pilgrimage to Kedarnath that she made in 1910, May of 1910, just about a year before she died. She went with a couple of other seekers to Kedarnath. And it gives this this thrilling description of the enthusiasm of the pilgrims, and finally the thrill of reaching the summit of the mountain and the cave temple, and not the cave temple, but the mountain temple of Kedarnath. So if you indulge me, I'll read this, and I hope you also can get the inspiration of it. 8 miles further is Kedarnath itself. The road on this final day is terrible, especially the last 4 miles of steep ascent. About the beauty of the scenery one could not say enough, but the difficulties of the climb ought neither to be forgotten. It is a dolorous stairway, as hard as life itself in very truth, as the Panda ruefully said to me, the way to heaven. All this is forgotten, however, when at last we reach the uplands and begin to feel ourselves within measurable distance of Kedarnath. We are now amongst the wide turf-covered tablelands, and the flowers begin to abound as in some paradise of Mughal painters. At every step we pass, or are passed by other pilgrims, the eagerness around and about us is indescribable. At last comes the moment when the temple is visible for the first time. A shout goes up from our carriers and others, and many prostrate themselves. So you can imagine they're being carried in a palanquin probably, or some kind Dundee. And they stop, they get the first glimpse of the temple from afar. They stop and they prostrate right there in the path. We press forward more rapidly than before. It is even now a mile or so to the village, but at last we arrive, and entering find that the shrine itself stands at the end of the long avenue-like street, with the mountain and glacier rising sheer behind it, as if all India converged upon Kedarnath as its northern point, and all roads met at the sacred feet of the Lord of Mountains. Amazing vision she has of all India converging at this point, right here at the feet of Lord Shiva. When we arrived, it was the middle of the day, and the temple was closed till the evening arati. And as the afternoon ended, the cold blue mists came down from the mountains, enwrapping everything, and one sat out in the village street, watching cowled forms in their brown kombos, pacing back and forth through the mist before the tight-shut doors. Suddenly, we were called to see the arati. Darkness had fallen, but the mists had gone. And the stars and the snows were clear and bright. Lights were blazing and bells clanging within the temple, and we stood without amongst the watching people. As the lights ceased to swing and the arati ended, a shout of rapture went up from the waiting crowd. Then the cry went out to clear the road, and the rush of the pilgrims up the steep steps began. What a sight was this! On and up they came, crowding, breathless, almost struggling in their mad anxiety to enter the shrine, reach the image, and at the last, by way of worship, to bend forward and touch with the heart the sacred point of the mountain. For this half embrace is what the worship consists of at Kedarnath. They poured in at the great south door, out by the east, on, up and up. One had not dreamt the place contained so many people as now panted forward to obtain entrance. It was one of the sights of a lifetime to stand there in the black darkness at the top of the steps and watch the pilgrims streaming in. It seemed as if all India lay stretched before one, and Kedarnath were its apex, while from all parts everywhere, by every road, one could see the people streaming onward, battling forward, climbing their way up, all for what? For nothing else than to touch God. Tremendous vision of all humanity streaming forth from all parts of India for one purpose alone. What purpose? To touch God, to see God. And then a very touching anecdote of one pilgrim who reached his goal. It was the second day of our stay when an old man who had been seriously ill for many months reached the place and made his darshana. He had ended his journey and hastened to fulfill his vow within the hour. But scarcely had he done so, barely had he ceased from prayer, not yet was the rapture of achievement abated, when the battle was declared for him to be finished, and in the bright morning air, with long sighing breaths, his soul went forth. Such is the benediction with which the Lord of Mountains lays his hand upon his own. So on that inspiring note, I chant a closing prayer and then we'll have the arati. Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya Mrityormamritangamaya Avirma eti Rudrayate dakshinam mukham Tena mam pahi nityam Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. From the unreal, lead us to the real. From darkness, lead us unto light. From death, lead us to immortality. Reach us through and through ourself, and evermore protect us from ignorance by thy sweet, compassionate face. Oh, peace, peace, peace. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts and favorite readings about pilgrimage with you.